2002. Charles Hirschhorn looks off into the sunset, thinking about his job at Disney. He thought about how far gaming production evolved over the years. He then visited E3 and was awed by the potential market gaming had to offer. Gamers were mostly spared the attention of television media, not until Charles knew what he had to do. The video The Rise and Fall of G4 explains the story behind G4's evolution from a channel about video games to a channel about emotional baggage. It all started with a 24-hour stream of Pong for the whole week. What could this Pong mean? Asked the audience. Wait, could it be the birth of 11 shows? And most of these shows would be executed following the Tech TV G4 merge, as I mentioned in my G4 video. Now picture Arena. Arena was a show in which 2 teams of 4 would duke it out in different video games to find out who was best. So out of the 3-season run of Arena, you would see 6 hosts come and go as the show started to dwindle in popularity.
Welcome to Arena. I'm Wil Wheaton.
And I'm Travis Oates.
Tonight, Arena.
Some of you may recognize Wil Wheaton. Wil Wheaton was known for his notorious role as Wesley Crusher in Star Trek Next Generation from 1987 to 1991. Some Trekkies don't seem to like Wil Wheaton's character, but I don't know because I never watched it. Then you have Travis Oates, and if you look a little bit closer, you can see that he is actually the voice actor of Piglet from Winnie the Pooh. The two's chemistry on the show was rich in improv as they constantly ripped on each other as well as themselves.
Vegas has totally gone to your head.
Yes, it has. Will you be joining me for the buffet after the show?
You have to ask? I mean, come on.
Just wanted to be polite.
Let's take a look at our first game, Tactical Ops.
Sometimes the two, well, mostly Travis, provided a satirical dark personality, as Wheaton provided a charismatic, pragmatic, and other matics that provide contrast to Oates' character.
Yeah, GLC has stayed to entertain the hostages.
Oh, that's very thoughtful of him. A little puppet show, maybe.
Maniac shoots Tyler D in the back.
I am Jack's humiliating death.
Oh, good, more Fight Club.
That's right. Hey, you're not a special snowflake.
The two would also provide tips and tricks to help benefit the viewer to give an understanding about how the game is played. The show was scripted by Wil Wheaton himself, which was rich in humorous metaphors, and later episodes, passive aggressivism.
Stay tuned. Arena, next.
Arena, we begin our first ever Arena tournament, which will pit teams of players from across the internet against each other in a variety of combat environments, including Counter-Strike, Unreal Tournament, and MechWarrior 4.
So the earlier episodes were known for giving out information on the teams and giving them various stats. The first episode actually had like a flame background to represent one team and a purple flame to represent the other team. Each individual contestant will get a moment on camera to talk about their name and their favorite game, etc., etc. That would be fine and dandy if the first 2 episodes weren't fake. Wil Wheaton left G4 in 2002 for reasons that was given away in a post on Slashdot.com. We'll talk a little bit more about that source later, because I also want to mention the 2003 article done by Salon magazine that went into detail of the issues Travis and Wil had with the producers of G4. The first 2 episodes were completely fake, Wheaton admits. That didn't bother us because we all knew that this was just proof of concept. We knew that the first 2 episodes were going to be fake, Oakes confirms, but I didn't know that they were going to air and that we were going to treat them as if they were real episodes, which they did. Producers often use bots or computerized players run by artificial intelligence as contestants. Arena's small but active audience started raising questions about the show's
veracity
on G4's message boards as well as on computer game news sites such as Slashdot. What if I told you that throughout that entire episode, they never showed any footage of the 2 teams together as they did in future episodes? Instead, what we got was people simply looking like they were reacting to a video game while being recorded by a webcam.
Okay.
He's crossing behind 808 Strict. Does 808 Strict just not see him?
I don't know whether he's hiding or he just didn't see him.
Okay, it looks like he just didn't see him, as SOB is afforded great cover by those big cement blocks.
Oates and Wheaton falsely believed that the game's first episode wouldn't actually air, and if it did, it wouldn't air for long. So G4 was owned almost entirely by Comcast at this time. Comcast had the ultimate say to how G4 the channel would operate. The producers on G4 typically worked with Comcast to ensure that the channel followed Comcast's guidelines and regulations. Producer for G4's Arena was Jim Downs. Downs was pretty well known in the gaming industry with his work on something called All Games Network, which launched in 1996 online. It was basically a talk show where they discussed video games. In 2002, he became executive producer of G4 and was assigned to work on Arena and several other shows. The two teams would play in the same room connected via LAN party.
In each match, there are 5 possible points to be won. Each match is broken up into 3 games, which are broken up into 3 rounds. The team which wins the most points will advance to the next match. Points are awarded based on the following criteria. Each game is worth 1 point. The team with the most total accumulated kills will win 1 point, and the team with the most valuable player will win the final
Which
point.
is always explained by Travis Oates in the form of a metaphor.
To determine who our MVP is, we total up all of our players' kill to death ratios. Then we add in any objectives they've secured, like planting or defusing a bomb or scoring a perfect victory in Dead or Alive 3. We then feed all of this information into a giant industrial blender and pour the results out on a cookie sheet. We bake at 425 for 15 minutes, and then we take a look at that cookie sheet and see if we have our MVP.
This scoreboard system is pretty flawed. If a team wins both round 1 and 2, it is most likely that the winning team will probably win the 2 extra points. The winning team would be rewarded with coming back next week to defend their title. After a certain amount of victories, the team would be retired, as this happened several times for the show.
And remember, people, these are all 3D models in a computer game. None of this is real. Sadly, this includes the cookie, which won't stop Travis from trying to eat it.
Hold it. Does this coat make me look fat or something? Is that a fat joke?
Was it a fat joke? Log on to our message board and let us know.
Despite the energy that was admired by the slim audience group of Arena, fans of the show started to lose interest in the show. So, what happened? It is now time to look at this Slashdot post, explaining his departure from the company. I will be reading Will's perspective, which first mentioned the loss of a beloved title. This title was Counter-Strike, and as we all know, Counter-Strike is a notorious first-person shooter created by Valve. Travis was very active on the Arena message boards, and when we suddenly dropped Counter-Strike from our show, the fans asked him why. Travis asked the producer what he should tell them. The producer told Travis that Valve had decided not to sign a waiver, which would protect the network from a lawsuit if some stupid kid decided to shoot up his school and blame it on CS. Travis relayed this information to the fans, and someone from Valve had read it. Apparently, this made the person from Valve very unhappy, and this person complained to G4. The brass at the network was furious and blew up at Travis about it. The producer, who had explicitly told Travis what to say, never spoke up on his behalf. He sat back and let Travis get blamed for just following the producer's instructions. As a matter of fact, the producer had the nerve to send Travis an email, where he blasted Travis for speaking without permission. Wheaton says that Downs' disrespect for the G4 audience extended to the network's coverage of video games. So former heavyweight boxer champion Mike Tyson accused of raping an 18-year-old beauty pageant contestant Desiree Washington, and he was found guilty by an Indiana jury. Lo and behold, the Mike Tyson heavyweight boxing video game that came out in 2002 for Sony PlayStation 2. We were having a production meeting talking about whether we were going to cover it in the news. A lot of people said, I don't want to cover that. Mike Tyson is offensive. Several of us tried to make the point that just because you are offended by something doesn't mean that you don't cover it. Jim Downs said, this isn't real news. This is video games. Just wait, the drama gets better. Let me forward you to Iron versus Team Null. So Team Iron destroyed Team Null by sweeping the scoreboard. Upon the ending of the DOA segment, Wil Wheaton says,
I started out really hating Dead or Alive 3, but over the last few matches, it's really grown on me. It's a pretty cool game.
Well, that's great. Unfortunately, we won't be using it anymore.
What? Why?
Well, it turns out we offended some people.
What could possibly be offensive about watching 2 hot chicks dressed up in schoolgirl outfits fight each other?
the people offended in this manner were from parent company Comcast. They stated that someone was personally offended by Dead or Alive 3 due to its obvious big-breasted imagery, so they took it off on both Arena and the rest of G4.
Well, we're gonna miss you, Dead or Alive 3.
Yeah.
This was a hugely popular and relevant game, Wheaton says. What if this person was offended by Unreal Tournament or the new Star Wars game? We were letting one person decide for our entire audience what they were going to see. It's not really 100% clear how long this Dead or Alive 3 ban lasted, as an episode of Icons talked about it in the history of the series in 2004. I would like to say too that this is Dead or Alive 3, the fighting game for the Xbox. We're not talking about the very lewd, extreme version, which for some reason is appropriate to air on XPlay, but Dead or Alive 3 was not appropriate to air on Arena. So Travis conveyed this information to the fans via the message board, and when the G4 executives read it, they freaked out more intensely than the Valve people had. Travis was threatened with termination, and again, the producer sat back and said nothing. He did fire off another official sounding email to cover his ass. I'm not gonna lie, dude, they fucking bully Piglet in this episode. Allegations towards Jim Downs treating the player like absolute garbage began. He spoke about them really disdainfully. He had this really laissez-faire attitude towards the players, that they were lucky to be there and they should do what we told them to, basically. I had a reputation that was important to me, Wheaton says. I didn't want to be part of something if these players were going to leave here and go tell their friends that it sucked and G4 is a bunch of a-holes. My efforts to make sure that the players who had come all over the country to play were competing for major prizes were treated well, were met with constant resistance from everyone except for one executive at G4. But Travis Oates also says he witnessed poor treatment of arena players. Jim Downs treated the contestants badly. I mean, they got no prizes or anything. It was a mentality of, well, they are on TV, so they should be happy that they're getting on TV.
ESRB. It may include images of intense violence, suggestive language, sexual themes, or subversive content which could possibly fry young, impressionable minds. Your innocence, once lost, can never be regained.
But let me talk about the failure that was Season 1, Episode 11, the Halo National Championship. So this episode of Arena was considered a complete failure. Well,
Special edition of Arena. I'm Wil Wheaton.
And I'm Travis Oates.
Tonight, we are proud to bring you the Halo National Championship Finals. I'm really excited about this because it's very much like calling the World Cup or the Stanley Cup Finals.
Dude, don't say that. If the network realizes that, they're going to get professional announcers.
What are we?
We're gamers who got lucky.
Could I get some Halo music, folks? That be all right?
So G4 and Microsoft hosted a Halo Championship event in the United States. The attendance was mentioned to be about 10,000 total players that were limited down to just 16 contestants. The players played in split-screen LAN party, so they could screen hack, bro. To showcase the maps, they had a player do pan shots around the match. And once again, this aired nationally. The tourney consisted of 3 rounds of 8 players. The top 4 moved on to the final round to depict the champion.
Halo also won Game of the Year from IGN.com and the official Xbox magazine.
It's an intense, immersive experience that transports you to a distant alien planet.
And we go there because there's all this ancient technology that we figure if we can figure this out, then we'll have this big edge in the battle. The Covenant has the same idea, and so we kind of meet.
On the Halo National Championship, the contestants are also interviewed and they give tips, or if they win, they get to explain why they're so damn legit, right?
It was a pretty active game for me. I'd run, kill people, and die all the time.
DM?
It's kind of interesting to see what your average gamer looks like, or at least for the game show Arena. And despite the toxic treatment of players, Travis Oates still chooses to be that super supportive uncle 6 minutes in.
I got one less death, though.
Exactly. Hey, good luck in the finals.
The final round had a score cap at 50, no shields, blood gulch. The entire tourney was only 22 minutes.
It all and behind the safety relative. Right, we are using the scope on the pistols right away. Themselves in the first 2 heats are dark, and then jumps off of the... Let's take a look at Strange Purple now. He's got his pistol. HP Darkman has 49 kills. He is 1 kill away from being the Halo National Champion.
Oh my.
He is up on top of the hill there. He's drawing down on his soldier. We have the champion!
That's it!
HP Darkman with...
Wil Wheaton explains his frustration. The Halo finals should have been 1 hour long, 44 minutes of show with the balance being commercials. But the network refused. They insisted that it be cut down to 23 minutes, and it ended up looking like crap. It was the Halo frickin' National Finals, and it looked like something. It was boring and stiff. I asked the editor why it was so bad. He told me that he'd cut together an hour-long version and it was funny and exciting, but the network refused, and the producer couldn't be bothered to fight with them to make the show better. I realized that the producer was lazy, and that as long as he was involved, the show wouldn't ever grow into something that I would be proud of. I labeled this as Strike 2. This event alone led to the reputation of Arena to fall, as gamers were being treated poorly and made to wait long wait periods in between rounds. If the team got restless and started to complain, they would be told that they should be honored to be on TV. This poor treatment soon got out and snowballed to the point where Jim Downs was unable to find players for the show. So Will mentioned that the producer would have players from the champion team play on the challenging team to fill up those missing spots. Will didn't know this was going on until around episode 11. He didn't care that the show was essentially fake, and when I asked him how we would explain to the audience that the challenging team had players from G4 on it, he instructed me to make something up. I felt that my integrity was on the line. I refused, and after numerous attempts to reach a compromise with him, Wil Wheaton went to Jim Downs' boss to tell on him. G4's senior vice president of programming, Vinny Longobardo, was Jim Downs' direct supervisor. Vinny was upset at Downs for being unable to come up with enough players for the show. However, for the most part, Longobardo chose to deny the claims that participants were being treated badly or with disrespect. Regarding competitions, to the best of my knowledge, no participants were treated badly or with disrespect, and never treated as though they were lucky to be competing on the show or to be getting free pizza. There were obvious tensions between the two of them, Downs and Wheaton, Longobardo says from a speakerphone in the network's publicity office. That kind of thing happens naturally in work environments, and particularly at startups where there is a lot more work and a lot more pressure. About 30 minutes later, my producer called me. I told him that I was glad to hear from him and asked him what we were going to do about the episode. His response was to scream at me, call me names, and tell me that I was a fucking bullshit asshole for going over his head and complaining to his boss. No, Will, the real problem is you, fucking asshole. You had no right to go over my fucking head and talk to my fucking boss. This is complete bullshit. Will, this is... Something in me snapped and I blew up. If I'd have been face to face with him, it would have taken several people to pull me off of him. I told him to shut the fuck up and be a professional. In my entire career, nobody has ever spoken to me the way he did. It was his problem because he didn't do his job, and he hung up. It was the last time I ever spoke with him. After that conversation, Wheaton went to Travis for advice. Travis was able to calm Wheaton down to the point of swaying him to stick around for the next episode. Unknown to Will at this time, this was considered his only mistake.
Meanwhile, Godzilla 2000 is just
wailing on Mechagodzilla. You know, I would love it if someone would come in and maybe just give a little challenge, you know, to Team UMM. I think that would be nice.
Now let's talk about Team UMM versus Team Leftovers, Wil Wheaton's last episode that he aired on.
Tonight on Arena, Team UMM hoped to face down their third challenger. Trouble is, challenger didn't show up.
Turns out that Team UMM is just too darn good. Yes. Thank you.
Yeah, so rather than send them home empty-handed, we gathered whomever happened to be hanging around at the time, combined them with some UMM alternates, and cobbled together for you, Team Leftovers.
Clever name.
Well, I can't take credit for that much as I'd like to.
Yeah, it wasn't true, but it was as close as I was going to get. In retrospect, I should have quit right then, but I felt a loyalty to Travis and the show's fans. I decided to shoot this Leftovers episode and deal with the problems when we were done. So the first round, they played Star Wars Jedi Knights.
I think that's nice and entertaining. I think everyone should look like their name.
Meanwhile, we have Aloplex, who's just stealed the blue flag and has been blown away. Aloplex, whatever I say, that's what it is. I'm a host, damn it.
Oh, excuse me. Here's Stained Boogeyman with a red flag for UMM and Alopex for Team Leftover. Speaking of cool, Stained did ultimately score for Team UMM, and they have the 1-0 lead right now.
Well, I would imagine if they scored, the game's pretty much over, isn't it?
Then we shot the episode. The producer skulked around like a child. There was countless mysterious technical problems that we never had before. Travis and I were forced to stop and start over and over again, and it became clear to us that after an hour or so, the producer was just fucking with us.
Team UMM swept all 3 rounds of Jedi Outcast, taking our first game point.
It's not so much that they swept all 3 rounds, making Leftovers look like little sissy But then I get to say little sissy bitch.
Actually, you don't get to say little sissy bitch. They bleep it out.
Well, why is it in the script? Who writes this?
I do.
So you just wrote that?
Yep. And I wrote that, and this, and I'm about to write this line here.
Okay, yeah, okay. This is really messing with my head.
I knew that it would. Do you want to know what you say next? No!
Can we get started? I think the players are getting uncomfortable sitting in their mechs.
Getting uncomfortable sitting in their mechs? Dude, lame.
Well, actually, you wrote it, so.
So the second round they played Unreal Tournament. Team UMM has a player called the Drone who dominates at that game and did it once again.
Oh, well, look at that. Team UMM takes round 3.
So we kind of had to run a gauntlet just to even get to the flag.
When they were all just the three of them playing defense, it was like a brick wall. We'd run straight into them half the time. It was crazy. And I think our strategy was pretty sound.
I give my performance an F-.
Leftover still has a chance to leave with a bit of their dignity tonight in our final game, Godzilla Destroy All Monsters Melee.
And they played like the entire opening and just the final round in the battle. We finished the episode, and I spent the following week working on the script for the next show, when I went to pick up my paycheck that week. So Wheaton ended up receiving a pay cut of 2/3 without notification, and when he asked Longobardo about it, he said it was a personality conflict that was irresolvable. We made offers to change lots of different things in Wheaton's situation. I was hoping they would be able to work out, but Will decided it was irresolvable and he resigned. I was informed that my pay would remain insultively low for at least the next 2 years, and there was no plan to increase the budget on my show. G4 had no intention of removing this producer who had driven me and Travis away from the network, or any of the other producers who were driving good talent away. So let's talk about what happened after the post-Wheaton seasons of Arena.
Welcome back to Arena. In our first game, Team UMM created a new recipe for Jedi Jambalaya, and the key ingredient was Team Judgment Day.
Really?
That's what it says.
Jedi Jambalaya?
Yeah.
What does that taste like?
Chicken, I would suppose.
Oh, well, you know what I'd like to get a taste of is Mech Warrior 4 Mercenary.
UMM was going against Team Judgment Day, and since Will was not only the host, he was also the writer of the show.
Welcome to Arena. I'm Travis Oates.
And I'm Dave Cox, sitting in for Wil Wheaton, who's on location.
That's right. We have a new host. We also have a new writer, which I'm very excited about. I mean, Arena's known for its humor, so let's see what this guy can do, huh?
It sure is.
I know that Dave Cox is trying his best, and you can tell by this episode, Travis himself was not enjoying the loss of his good friend, combined with the frustration towards G4's corporate division.
And home to today's Arena.
What do you think an arena like that costs?
Well, at least a couple million credits.
Those be Imperial or Alliance credits?
Alliance, obviously, they need the cash.
And we all saw this coming. Travis Oates was fired by G4 soon after Wheaton left the network. He says he was dismissed for posting a message making it clear that Wheaton wasn't returning to Arena.
Well, they had the easier task. All they had to do was hold off Team Judgment Day until time ran out and collect mech carcasses for kill points. Judgment Day had no choice except to fight, or they would have lost by default.
You put a lot of thought into that.
I needed to take my mind off the Jedi Jambalaya.
Longobardo wasn't addressed the situation with Oates directly, but says some of the comments that were posted on the board were inappropriate because essentially they were discussing the inner workings of G4. Contractually, they are not really supposed to be doing that. I wouldn't take what you read on the message boards as the gospel truth of what actually happened. Longobardo says it is filtered through other people's perceptions who may not know everything that was going on. What an interesting tale. With Wil Wheaton, Travis Oates, and Dave Cox no longer hosting Arena, hosts were no longer writing for the show. We would see Arena last for about 3 seasons, and it received moderate feedback. The new host positions for the show was given to Lee Reherman and Michael Loudon. Lee Reherman was an ex-American gladiator known as the Hawk.
Brain would always win over brawn. Key to the gauntlet is the contender here needs to get to here,
who became both a host and a co-producer for the show. Michael Loudon, who was chosen to replace Wheaton for his topical humor.
Well, the unsung heroes may be singing the blues presently, but at least they put up a fight. Now, in the past, we've seen teams like Iron or UMM blow through their opponents like a twister through a Mississippi Walmart. Now,
He was quickly fired from Arena on March 21st. According to Longobardo, it was because he really didn't know anything about video games. I'm not gonna lie, as badass as it was to have Lee Reherman, and I can tell you, Lee Reherman does a really good job filling up that void.
So, good night. We're done. But we'll be here next time on Don't move your body, Arena. This. Like this. I'm going to kick your
I'm leaving.
He doesn't know video games all that well.
I'm not a gamer, but this is the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Our fourth and final round here in WarioWare Inc.
Loudon would end up being replaced by Kevin Piera.
Dancing.
Kevin Piera and Lee Reherman became the final hosts for the show. Sadly, Michael Loudon passed away of a brain aneurysm in 2004. And yes, Lee Reherman too fell into the grips of death as he passed in 2016 of a blood clot following hip surgery. So following the Slashdot post, Wheaton received mostly positive feedback on his decision of leaving Arena. Vinny Longobardo on January 10th, 2003 responded to his post to address some inaccuracies. These include: 1. The Halo National Finals was supposed to be a half hour. 2. That was about the post about the pizza that I already mentioned earlier today. 3. No game of Arena was ever fixed, and that the Leftovers episode was the only episode to have a mix of 2 teams. This post didn't mention anything about Jim Down's treatment towards Will and Travis. Thus, this response did not win back the trust of many Arena OG fans. Wheaton appreciated and acknowledged Longobardo's response, however, as Wheaton defended him and clarified that his main issue had to do with Jim Downs himself. The Slashdot post would also see a response from a UMM player, Space Monkey. He mentioned that UMM and Travis had dinner together and discussed briefly of what had happened. As someone who was part of the Leftovers episode, Space Monkey thanked Wheaton for exposing the episode as a whole, and mentioned that the team was very unclean about it. Wheaton also responded to this as well. So after G4, Will would be the voice of Aqualad in Teen Titans. He also achieved voice acting roles for the Tom Clancy and GTA games. An asteroid was named after him, 391257 Wil Wheaton. In early 2003, he founded the independent publishing company Monolith Press and released a memoir entitled Dancing Barefoot, which sold out within the first 3 months. Travis Oates owns and manages the ACME Comedy Theater in Costa Mesa, California. He was one of the only 2 of the original voice actors of the 2011 Winnie the Pooh movie to make a return. Jim Downs would continue to work for G4 until February 2007. He passed away in 2016 in an ATV accident while in Alaska. The conflict between Wil Wheaton and Jim Downs sheds light towards the possible downfall of G4. As Travis Oates put it, was that you had people who knew computer games or video games but knew nothing about television, and people who knew about television but knew nothing about computer games. The 2 worlds never met up with each other. The soul of G4 was not found in the executive producers, it was found in the people creating the show. The small cult following of G4 admires G4 because of its amateurish charm. Wil Wheaton and Travis Oates provided that charm successfully, but pushed their boundaries by speaking freely both on the show and on the G4 message boards.
From Travis's new best friend, U2.
and who goes down?
Yeah, U2.
Just like Bono in a hotel room in Munich.
Stain Boogeyman continues. It's Bono, by the way. Stain Boogeyman continues to...
And while the belief that Wheaton could possibly be wrong in some of his claims, it is very clear that there was some dishonesty from the network. Nothing can change the fact that Wheaton's perspective matches with what aired on TV. The Halo National Finals, it did look poor and it needed to be longer. That Leftovers episode was completely botched, and the first episode, it was clearly fake. However, to say that Jim Downs didn't know video games was far from the truth though. His experience with All Games Network displays his passion for video games and technology, and he knew a lot about the industry, so he does seem to be qualified for his executive producer position. But unfortunately, with all this baggage, Jim Downs never directly responded to his treatment of Wheaton. All I could find is a final goodbye from a post by Bobby Blackwolf on January 25th, 2013 at 4:20 p.m. I will be concluding with what he posted. I also got to meet Wil Wheaton and Travis Oates from Arena. I also know way too much about that situation. I believe that I was one of the few non-G4 employees for the longest time that actually heard G4's side of the story straight from Jim Downs. G4 made the decision to take the high road and let Will have the last word, and I'm going to honor that here and not go into details. All I will say though is that while Will's Slashdot post does not state any events that did not happen, it does leave out a lot of the why those events happened. As Kosh from Babylon 5 said, understanding is a 3-edged sword. There is your side, there is the other side, then there is the truth. Thank you guys for watching. I probably should get some mustard at the store. I will say that Wil Wheaton and Travis Oates' commentary is absolutely so entertaining. It's so entertaining, I decided to make a little compilation video of my favorite moments from them competing, from them being on the show. I hope you guys like that. You can check that out on my Leftovers channel. I'm currently working on my banjo project, which is good. You know, this is just fucking awkward. You know, like I'm just sitting here in front of this fucking microphone, and I'm trying to think about something to talk about. You know, like I'm trying to think of something to conclude with, but like I don't know. Like, what's the point of conclusions? You know, like I think I just said everything I needed to say. So like, what do I have to do? Do I have to like start dancing in front of the camera and start telling you guys how much I love you guys because you guys watched this video and you're at this point hearing me blabber about it? Like, what the fuck, dude? I don't know what to do. I know what you should do though. Commentary should not be like this. All right, it seems that he got the ball. Okay, so oh, that's a shoot. He definitely shot the ball, and oh, he missed. He missed the ball. I know it took me a few seconds to get back to that, but unrelated topic to make the audience feel that I'm quirky and weird and not backed by a corporation that knows nothing about the gaming industry.